Hey, good morning, everyone. How's it going today? Coach Alvarez here. Another episode, Coffee with Coach, on this awesome Sunday morning. Just up, just moving around, getting some little cleaning done, picking things up and watering the grass, all that good stuff. And listen to the Jocko podcast again. And it was a pretty cool little episode he's talking about that I can relate to pretty heavily here with the... He's got he's always getting guys that'll, or just people in general, guys and girls, that will message them, and then he'll read the message, the question on his podcast. So he had a guy, he hangs drywall, and he said he works like 10, 12 hours a day. He's got a couple kids that are like under 4 years old or 4 and under, and he wants to work out, but he just doesn't seem like he has the energy to do so. So he's asking Jocko for some tips. He's asking him am I just being soft and weak, or what's going on? What can you give me, as far as like some tips to kind of help with that? So then Jocko goes into, because the other guy in the podcast is Echo Charles. And he's like, man, have you ever hung drywall before? And the guy's like, well, no, not really. He goes, well, I have. He goes, that's some pretty demanding work. He said it's like doing cleans all day, because you're picking up drywall and you're pressing them against the wall and you're, putting in screws. And he goes, man, you're doing that 10, 12 hours a day. It's physically demanding work. He goes, but if you're getting home from work and you just don't feel like you have the energy to get a workout in of any sort, it can be 20 minutes, 30 minutes. A lot of times Jocko is talking about, you don't have to do hour and a half workout, man. It could be like burpees, like 100 burpees, and like be done with it, and that's it, so just get something in and get something done. But if you don't have the energy to do so, then we need to check your diet. What's your diet like? What are you eating, is what he says in the podcast. He goes, a lot of times you get guys like that, where, you're working all day, physically demanding job or wherever, and the donut truck pulls up, and, you get some donuts, grab 4 Monster energy drinks, and, that's your breakfast, or that's one of your meals throughout the day. And then lunchtime comes around and you didn't bring your lunch with you, and you have your buddy's going to Mickey D's. He said he'll bring you something back, and you tell him, yeah. And then, you come back and you're eating Mickey D's. So he says, if you're eating bad all day long, okay, you're not going to have a lot of energy, especially with physically demanding work like hanging drywall, at the end of your shift to get home, especially if you got kids and a wife and everything else, to get a workout in. You just didn't properly fuel yourself. And then I have his book here, the Discipline Equals Freedom manual. And he goes, some people use the 80-20 rule, meaning stick with the clean paleo eating 80% of the time, and then the other 20% of the time they eat whatever they want. The problem with that is 80-20 becomes 60-40, then 40-60, then 20-80, and then all bets are off. Don't follow the 80-20 rule, follow the 100% rule. That might turn into 99% rule, and that's okay. But the 80-20 rule isn't a rule. It's a step down the slippery slope. We know sugar is addictive. You're an addict. There is no such thing as an addict who is allowed to use their drug of choice 20% of the time, whether it's alcohol, cocaine, or heroin. You are in the same boat. Going cold turkey and holding the line is the best way to stay on track. Once you've spent enough time staying 100% clean, and you adapted to that method of eating both mentally and physically, you can make some excursions to the dark side. I have an occasional mint chocolate chip milkshake or some other delicious but not nutritious treat, and I make sure I earn it beforehand with some serious extreme physical activity. Over time, you will realize that you have lost your sweet tooth. You will also realize that the after effects, the sugar rush, the sugar crash, and the lack of energy the next day make the excursions to the dark side highly, highly undesirable, and will encourage you to stay clean. I have some treats that make it easier to stay clean. I eat a couple squares of 80% plus dark chocolate dipped in coconut oil, have a small glass of cream with a little MCT oil, and a glass of or a dash of chocolate milk powder Sometimes I'll have whipped cream with nuts on it. So if you're on a strict diet, each of those treats will taste like the richest, most satisfying dessert you've ever had. Now, there are times when you travel and work in life when the right foods simply are not available in the airport, office, party, restaurant, where you are having a business meeting. My solution to that is very simple. Don't eat. It's called a fast, and actually, it's good for you. I read all that because it relates to the podcast I was just listening to, and it relates to, we just are having students come back from the quarantine. We're on 2 months or so, and there's a lot of students. The majority of my students are not in shape. They didn't stay in shape. They didn't eat right over the quarantine. Just about everyone gained weight. I even said I put on weight. A lot of that has to do with, I'm just not burning the same amount of calories and stuff like that. Still ate healthy, ate clean. I'm just not working out 2 jiu-jitsu sessions a day plus a workout or a run session. So it wasn't the same amount of calories being burned. So I definitely put on some weight. But since we've been back, I've already lost like 5 or 6 pounds just from being active like I used to be active. But I've had quite a few students, new students, trying out the classes this week. And one of the things they were asking me, which a lot of people ask me, is, what can I do to kind of just improve and get better, like at jiu-jitsu, or just do these exercises? Because our warm-up is a beast. I make sure that our warm-up is definitely going to get the blood flowing and get the heart rate up and oxygen going, flowing through the body and stuff like that. Break a good sweat before we actually get into the techniques and the grappling. Purpose is less injuries, and I want your mind in tune to jiu-jitsu and to detach from whatever you were dealing with before you walked into the academy. So my first thing to everyone this week and last week was, man, what are you eating? What have you been eating? And we need to check that. We need to fix that. We need to get on top of that ASAP, because if you want to do jiu-jitsu and get good at it, or you want to do these exercises or make it past our warm-up, man, you need to really, really hone in on what it is that you're putting in your system every day, because obviously over the quarantine, some of these students that I've had just dying within the first 5 minutes. I look up at the clock and I'm like, man, class just started, man. And it's like people are dropping like flies. It's like, man, you guys were able to, this was nothing before, and now it's so hard. So you got to check your diet, guys. You got to make those necessary sacrifices. And to me, they're not even sacrifices, because you should want to be the best you. You should want to be the best version of yourself. And the way to do that is to take care of your health. I've talked about all the time, you can't take care of anyone else, like your kids or your wife or your husband or your friends around you, family members. You can't give them a 100% if you're not 100%. I hear that all the time. Well, my kids come first, or so-and-so comes first, and all this stuff. What about you though? What about you? Why aren't you first? Why aren't you taking care of yourself first? Why is your health poor? Why are your eating habits poor? Why aren't you making sure that you're 100% on top of things with your health to help everyone else around you? And on top of that, especially if you got kids, especially if you have a family, especially if you're a guy, most of the time, you're like head of the household. The kids look up to the dad and everyone else. It's the phrase, monkey see, monkey do, man. If you're eating clean and you're eating healthy and you're working out, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to want to do the same thing. They're going to want to mimic and copy what you're doing. But playing video games, not working out, eating bad, laying around the house, just doing lazy stuff, what are they going to do? They're going to be lazy. They're going to eat bad. They're going to want to play video games all day. Then later on in life, when it's time to get things in check because they want to play a sport or do something and get good at something, or the doctor says, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z, or else your health is, you're at risk to going down, really fast here. Now you got to make those changes and you have no idea what to do and you're lost and everything else. So definitely multiple talks all week long, last week as well. Got all kind of new students coming in, students slowly trickling back, you know, feeling safer to come back to the mats. And yeah, man, you can tell everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people just didn't really check their diet when we were off. And we need to get on top of that ASAP. You want to get good at jiu-jitsu, you got to properly fuel yourself. You want to make it throughout the day. You got to properly fuel yourself. I relate to that story he's talking about with the guy with the drywall, because when I worked for General Motors, I had a lot of my co-workers make fun of me because I had this huge cooler. It would fit like an 18-pack of whatever in it, right? It was a big cooler. And I'm not that big of a guy, so I'd walk in the plant and I'd have this big cooler with me, and it was just loaded with like oatmeal, bananas, water, salads, you know, grilled chicken, brown rice, like whatever I prepped for the week or whatever. I had this big cooler with me, and I would always get made fun of because it's like, because everyone on lunch break or on break, it was, hey, Alvarez, you want to go across the street to the bar? You know, there's a bar right across the street. And in Saginaw and here in Arlington, there's a bar. There's a bar right across from the plant. And that's where guys would go, have a few drinks or, you know, cheeseburger, curly fries, like whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm straight. Like, I'm good. I got my stuff with me. I never, ever went to the truck because there was like a little breakfast truck that came through, sold breakfast burritos and everything like that. Long line. I'm like, I'm not going to stay in line to eat breakfast burritos and then like leave the plant, get in my car, go walk across or whatever, go to the bar down the street. It's a waste of time. I got my food with me. I would do little workouts in the we called it footprints, my little footprint where I was at, push-ups and stuff like that. And, you know, while everyone else is eating bad, you know, been like this for a very, very long time. And because I knew at that time, you know, I wanted to do jiu-jitsu after class. So I'll work 8, 9, 10 hours a day, okay, doing like physically demanding work. Because if you ever worked on the assembly line, you know what I'm talking about. And if you did, and if you haven't worked on the assembly line in a General Motors plant, especially full assembly like here in Arlington, woo, it's a beast. It's not the same as a parts plant up in Saginaw. It's a completely different kind of work. Physically demanding, same thing, repetitive all day long. But I had things I wanted to do after work. Like after work, it wasn't like, okay, let me grab a beer, you know, see my family, watch TV, and then I'm done for the day. I wanted to be physically active. So I did. I took care of myself. I hydrated all day. I ate good foods. And then I would drive back across the town, do an hour and a half of jiu-jitsu. I would also get runs and workouts in. But I could do that because I properly fueled myself. So that's why I said I can relate to this story with the guy with the drywall and the advice that he's given this guy. I completely relate to everything he said there because that's what I had to do if I wanted to. Because there was nights where like I would get up at 4:30 for work and I wouldn't come home until 10 p.m. from jiu-jitsu class. Then I'd take a shower, get something to eat, and then I had to get back up at 4:30 in the morning again. But how was I able to do that? Proper fuel, proper hydration, everything else. So guys, it's important. If there's some things out there you want to do and you don't have the energy to do it and you're working a lot, you got a physically demanding life, check your diet, check what you're eating and fix those things. And I guarantee you'll have some type of energy to do some type of workout. It could be 20 minutes, it could be 30 minutes and get it in and get it done. Take care of yourself, take care of your health. Not saying to never eat bags like he says. He has his little dark chocolates. I do the same thing. I love dark chocolate. I have, you know, there's a place called Paleo's down the street. I probably mentioned it before. They got whole grain crust. Only place I know has got whole grain crust. They make these pizzas. I get sun-dried tomatoes, grilled chicken, spinach, mushrooms. I tell them light cheese and then heavy sauce. And have me a little dark chocolate. And boom, there's my cheat meal. Okay, it's good stuff. Anyways, so getting ready for the work week. Monday, maybe meal prep. Try it out. Check your diet and have a good week. All right, we'll catch you guys next time.